these were emergency situations, people rightly said, gosh, we already have all this debt. We already have these big deficits.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
This is potentially going to compound it. And at what point are we going to get back to a situation where we're doing what families all around the country do, which is make sure that if you spend something, you know how to pay for it, as opposed to racking up the credit card for the next generation.
Just racking up that credit card. See, he said we got to stop racking up debt. Now, see, he's been saying all day that raising a debt ceiling does not mean that you're going to accumulate more debt. However, the amount that he's wanting the debt ceiling to be raised just happens to be the amount that he's demanding Congress agree to pay. Every cent. And that amount is unnegotiable.
Now, wait. Does he understand what the word negotiate means? Because, man, I had this totally different concept of negotiating. See? It actually, I thought that in order to negotiate, step one is to actually talk to the other party, like getting in the same room with the folks.
Right.
And sit down and actually talk to them.
Wait, he did talk to John Boehner today. First thing this morning, he talked to John Boehner. And you know what he talked to him about?
What?
I ain't finna negotiate with you until you give me a clean resolution.
Okay. But he got step one. All right. Step two.
Okay.
Okay. You actually have to, in a negotiation, you state your position and you listen to the other person's position.
Well, now, wait. He done that. And he admits it. He admits that he has listened to their proposals. But he said he can't hear none of them proposals until they send him a clean bill. You
but
understand?
That's not negotiate.
Look. Again, he don't know what words mean.
He's doing to Republicans what you and I talked about should be done to the Iranians.
Well, he's doing to Republicans what my proctologist... Never mind. Look, there's more. There's more. I got more questions. I got more questions. And I'm hoping that, some progressive can explain this to me. Now, he also has said that, how wonderful this Obamacare thing is and how, all these people's going to be able to have insurance that couldn't have it before. And he said that you would be able to keep your own doctor and that your premiums would not go up. Right. And, I noticed a slight inconsistency. Now, the reason we're having to go through this at all is because some ignoramuses from the Supreme Court ruled on it and said it was okay, because he's been throwing that in everybody's face. Mm-hmm. Throwing that. The Supreme Court ruled on it. Tell me something, Case. What justification did the Supreme Court give for Obamacare? Like, if they summed it up in one word, like it's the
word that John Roberts used was tax.
Tax. All right. Now, right. Mm-hmm. The Supreme Court has ruled that it most certainly and definitely is a tax, right?
That's the only way it would be constitutional.
Then maybe he could explain when he was talking to the angry Greek, George Snuffleupagus. Mm-hmm. He said something a little different.
By the government. Right. You were against the individual mandate during the campaign. Under this mandate, the government is forcing people to spend money, fining you if you don't. How is that not a tax?
Well, hold on a second, George. Here's what's happening. You and I are both paying $900 on average, our families, in higher premiums because of uncompensated care. Now, what I've said is that if you can't afford health insurance, you certainly shouldn't be punished for that. That's just piling on. If, on the other hand,
I got to stop right there first. Did you just hear that?
Uh-huh.
All right, he said if you can't afford it to begin with, man, you shouldn't be penalized for that, right? Didn't he just say that?
He said it was piling on.
All right, we'll come back to that.
given tax credits. We've set up an exchange. You are now part of a big pool. We've driven down the costs. We've done everything we can, and you actually can afford health insurance. But you just decided, you know what, I want to take my chances. And then you get hit by a bus, and you and I have to pay for the emergency room care.
That may be, but it's still a tax increase.
That's not true, George. For us to say that you've got to take a responsibility to get health insurance is absolutely not a tax increase. What it's saying is that we're not going to have other people carrying your burdens for you, any more than the fact that right now everybody in America just about has to get auto insurance. Nobody considers that a tax increase. People say to themselves, that is a fair way to make sure that if you hit my car, that I'm not covering all the costs.
See? Didn't he just say, no, George. George, you dumbass. That's more or less what he just said. That wasn't a tax. Of course not. Sorry that I used the A word. Casey looking at me like my head's on fire.
No, I'm trying to figure out. He really doesn't understand the nature of tax and compulsion.
He don't get it. My point in all of these little audio clips is that he is a lying liar, pants on fire. He is a crap weasel of the first order.
I believe the correct term for that is crap weasel extraordinaire.
And there are people that believe every word that comes out of his mouth. And, I've only played, 4 clips? Every one of them was him lying through his teeth, playing the American people like we're stupid. And apparently 13 cities of us worth was really stupid.
Really stupid.
And, I'm just as mad at the 7 million registered conservative voters that stayed home on Election Day. The people that have prided themselves in not voting and not being a part of it. Thank you. Thank you. You see what you put in the office here? Do you see what if this was any other president?
And one of them was quoted, by the way, over the weekend. Because they went on to they actually were able to find out how much their insurance was going to go up, and it went up, crazy. And I wanted everybody to have insurance, but I didn't want to pay for all of it.
Pay for it, right? Hey, buddy, that's what we were screaming before you elected this putz.
Because it's like, what, you wanted to be exempted from picking up the tab for everybody else?
You've got to be kidding me, people.
Why are you better than me?
But I want to give you another idea about how delusional these people really are. Because, Casey, there's more. There's more. The president could not be where he was or where he is right now if it were not for the media, for the press, for the people we call the press.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to use the cliche mainstream media, but that's what they are. But I don't want to say that anymore. So can we call them tick turds?
Tick turds.
The tick turd media.
The tick turd media sounds good.
The tick turd media is not only like in his pocket, man. They're co-conspirators in all this, and they are responsible for the brainwashing of the quote unquote 51% that voted for this putz. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because they hang on to these people's words. They believe what they say. And they're very delusional.
I've noticed that.
Listen to Chuck Tide.
Chuck Tide?
Chuck Tide. Does he not just make you want to vomit Dayglow sometimes? Now, in this clip, these people really believe that they're, quote-unquote, winning the argument. All right? They believe that they're winning in this whole shutdown thing. They're winning. And they're winning so much that they truly believe they're going to take back the House. That's what they believe. And listen.
Chuck, let me get you to wade in a little debate we're having in between the segments. Do you think that out of all this, the House will end up turning blue?
It's hard to figure out how it happens, but I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, we know the map is a mess as far as how it's gerrymandered and how sort of insulated some of these are. But it wouldn't take much, right? They only need, they don't need 35 seats, 40 seats. I think they only need about 15 or 16 when all's said and done. Could you see that scenario? I think you could, and it would, if things really went off the cliff and the economy went down and the Republicans are bearing the brunt, look, I think there are more swing voters than we sometimes give voters credit for. So it would mean the Democrats would have to win the quote-unquote generic ballot by 8, 9, 10 points. But that happens in waves, in wave elections. So it's more possible than I think some people give it credit for.
All right, Chuck Todd.
Really, Chuck? You think the American people are that stupid that we can't see where all of this crap is coming from? When we just played the clip from the President of the United States, the leader of the Democrat Party right now, saying that all of this pain, all of the suffering going on right now is being done to us by him so that he can get back at the Republican Party.
You know what I heard in Chuck Todd's voice? I don't think he believed for a second. What I heard, you could almost hear the click sound of him clicking the chain completely off between his brain or his belief
You think he
system.
just went on Democrat autopilot right there?
Yeah, didn't you hear the chain go off the derailleur and drop down onto so that his mouth just...
No, I couldn't hear that over something in my own brain snapping.
I tell you.
Man, the fact that there are people out there right now, regular Joe Americans, just like me and you, that still believe that this guy has been this country's salvation, when this president has sunk this country to a low that it didn't even see during the Great Depression. There is now an atmosphere in this country of great despair. Our moment of genius tonight comes out of New York. A school district in New York has decided that they've got to take care of our children because they are, they're part of the collective, and it's their responsibility to care for them in ways that even the parents can't or won't. Now, they realize that sometimes when children are playing outside that they're going to get hurt. So they're trying to lessen that by taking away and outlawing footballs, baseballs, basketballs, soccer balls, lacrosse balls. They're also going to seriously limit particularly rowdy games of freeze tag.
What?
And children are no longer allowed to perform cartwheels without direct supervision by a coach. See, there are people that are so delusional about things right now that they bought into this whole progressive agenda thing, hook, line, and sinker, and they really believe that they're doing something called the greater good by
why don't they
micromanaging how your children play.
Why don't they just, not let them go outside and just put them under sun?
No, that would be
under
cruel.
Sun lamps.
That would be cruel. So instead they're going to opt for them to wander aimlessly about the playground at a sensible speed because they really can't be running.
Wait, you said
they're going to play walking freeze tag.
Freeze tag?
No, they just can't get rough with it. They've got to walk. They can play walking tag where they walk fast, but no really fast gallops or anything.
They're going to They're telling kids.
And baseball is like too much of a contact sport.
Now, wait. You can't run in the halls. You can't run in the classroom. And now you can't run outside?
You can't run outside either. I mean, look, it's for the greater good. Remember, Casey, they're doing this they're doing this to make a better America. They're doing this, because